This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, October 24th. We're coming to you, of course, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios in Bloomington. I hope you're having a great week and hope you're having a good day. If not, we're about to light it up for you. Another spectacular program on tap. Leading off with Tom Coverdale, former Indiana basketball player. He's going to be speaking today at SACOA, an organization that deals with Alzheimer's. Tom had a very close encounter with that unfortunate disease, and we'll talk to Tom about that and a lot more. IU basketball, of course. Also, it is Reporters Day. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition, Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com, and Sean Callahan from Husker Online, Nebraska Rivals, is going to join us as we're talking Indiana taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers Saturday in Lincoln, a Big Ten matchup. Indiana looking at bowl eligibility, all kinds of exciting things on the line this weekend. Men's soccer, they are at it tomorrow night. Indiana volleyball is a big game tomorrow night as they welcome Nebraska in. Nebraska, number 5 in the country. We'll talk to Coach Steve Aird tomorrow about that. Our good friend Steve, get Coach Aird on as the Hoosiers looking to make some noise in the Big Ten, man. Here's an opportunity. Wow, what an incredible win that would be if they could knock off Nebraska in women's volleyball. Men are taking on Nebraska Cornhuskers on Saturday in football, man. It is a big, big game. We talked about this point spread in this game, how it has bounced back and forth. It started out with Indiana being a 2.5-point favorite. Then it quickly went up to a 3-point favorite. The next day it swung the other way as Nebraska was, what the heck? Oh, man, I hate when that stuff goes wrong. Anyway, the video just started playing. I hate that. But I was looking for the stupid spread. But yeah, then it swings the other way and it goes. I don't see. You don't see that very often. You don't see point spreads just bounce back and forth. Number one, they may change, but it's usually in the same direction. It's rare that you see them bouncing back and forth. Now, here we go again. Another day. Nebraska is a 2.5-point favorite today. This is 4 days and 4 different favorites, folks. This is unusual. Wow, this thing is swung back and forth. That's amazing. Either there's a lot of money going down back and forth on this game, or I don't know what else to say because it's the battle of the attrition. This must be the attrition bowl. So many people are out. But we'll talk about all of that with Dustin Schutte, Taylor Lehman, and Sean Callahan as our reporter segment gets going. Hey, I don't want to wait too long. We got a lot to get to today. Let's get to Tommy Coverdale. Tommy C was we're happy enough to have Tom join us. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here in Bloomington now. Couldn't be happier. One of our favorite former Hoosier players, Tom Coverdale, joins us now. Tom, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I cannot complain. I hope it was a good summer. Tom's got a pair of 2-year-old twins to take care of, and before we got on, I asked him if they had turned 12 yet. That's usually what kids do. They jump ahead about 10 years fast. But I hope it's been a fun summer for you.
It definitely has. They're almost 3, so it's getting to a fun age where you can do a lot more with them, but also a lot more work, as all parents know out there. So, but it's been a great summer.
Obviously good to have. And then A great article in the Indianapolis Star, if you read it here recently on Tom, and a story that probably a lot of people did not know. And your mother passed away. It's been almost a decade now, but she had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, correct?
Yes. Yeah, she got diagnosed right before college.
Yeah. And that had to be extraordinarily rough. But what a great article! You're going to be speaking at SOCOA today, an organization that deals with that. But man, as a kid, that had to be tough to deal with. Trying to go to college and deal with all that. I lost my mother a year ago. I understand the rigors of going through all that. But man, I wasn't that young, so that had to be extraordinarily difficult with all the change that was going through your life.
Call from Tom Coverdale. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
We lost Tom there. We're going to get him right back here on the phone. Jake, let me know when we got him back there, but that's the difficulty of doing things technology-wise like this. But we get it managed. Tommy Coverdale speaking at SOCOA today in honor of his mother, Mary Ann, who passed away at the age of 63 in 2010 after being diagnosed during Tom's senior year with Alzheimer's. A tough situation, obviously, for him to go through. Jake, are we ready to get back to that? All right. So as we look to get Tommy back here on the phone, also the basketball season swinging around. We'll talk to Tom about that as well. Visit for Indiana basketball this weekend. It is a gigantic visit for them. But Tom Coverdale, of course, one of Indiana's favorite players back from the early 2000s, the last team that played on a Final Four team. He was there leading the way on that bum ankle. But Tom has been with us several times. We've talked about all that stuff before as well. But I wanted to talk to him. I saw the article in the paper, and I wanted to talk to him about this deal because it doesn't get the attention it needs. And it's the same thing that Coach Knight is dealing with from everything I've understood. Hearing of that, Gard. So to have Tommy Coverdale speaking there today, we wanted to reach out to him and see if he wanted to talk about that today, and he did. And we got to be getting closer there, Jake. So hopefully we can get Tommy back here. You ready? All right, let's get back to Tom Coverdale. Who's your basketball player on the show with us right now. Tommy, how are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic. How's everything going?
I cannot complain. I hope it's been a good summer. Tom's got a pair of 2-year-old twins keeping him busy, him and his wife, Rachel. How was the summer with the kids gone?
Oh, it's been fantastic. You know, they turned 3 in December, so, you know, life is busy, but it is a lot of fun because it's a fun age where you can do a lot more with them. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then they can do a lot more to terrorize you, too.
Exactly.
As we get forward, man, I saw there was a great article in the paper on Tom a few days ago, and today Tom's going to be speaking at SOCOA, an organization that deals with Alzheimer's. You had a personal dealing with that almost a decade ago. Your mother passed away after being diagnosed with that while you were going to college. That had to be a really difficult time for you.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you never really know anything about the disease until it happens to your family. But she got diagnosed kind of right before my senior year of college, and she was only 55 years old with Alzheimer's. So, you know, she got early onset, and I think a lot of people think of that disease and think, you know, my grandmother or my grandfather had that. You think about people later in life getting that, but it can definitely happen at a younger age like it did to our family, and it definitely takes a toll on a family, that's for sure.
You're going to be speaking out at the SOCOA event today, and having gone through that as a younger age, is that you get a lot more that you can pass on, I guess, things that you had to deal with. I mean, man, You're in college. You're a kid, basically. I can
Hello?
only imagine. Yeah, we're still here. That had to be a tough thing to deal with, even more so because you're younger, you're in college, you're going through a lot, man. Have you been able to put those thoughts together? You're going to be sharing those today at the Sequoia event.
Well, it's definitely a difficult time to go through that, but I think for any family member, it doesn't matter what your age is, it's just trying to register what's going to happen, what you're going to go through as a family, and what your loved one's going to go through. So definitely as a 22, 23-year-old kid, you're definitely trying to process everything, and then you're playing the season, and you're kind of in the best time of your life in college, and trying to enjoy that at the same time. So it's definitely a lot of emotions to go through as a young kid, but it's a lot of emotions to go through as a family as well.
Yeah, you have a couple of siblings, and then your dad. I mean, that had to be obviously extraordinarily rough for everybody, but your dad's got kids and all that as well. Man, I can only imagine the turmoil that must bring.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely did. I think my dad did a great job of kind of getting us together, and we definitely, as soon as we found out the news, got together as a family and met with a professional because we didn't know what to expect from the disease. And I think that's the best thing a family can do when they're facing something that they don't know a lot about, is to ask for help. And when I've got two older brothers and my dad, you have four alpha males that think they know everything. You know how that is.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's hard to ask for help, and we got together and kind of learned what to expect and went from there. So I give credit to my dad for that.
Very good. And how did your family come together and rally around this particular disease? And once you learned what it was, and because it's not like dealing with a broken leg or something like that. It's a lot more intense as far as the family needing to help and do things like that. It had to be an incredible experience as a family unit.
Yeah, it definitely was. I'm lucky enough to have a really close family anyway. So we just kind of got together and realized, first we wanted to do everything we could to make my mom as comfortable as possible. And a lot of that with dementia and mental diseases is making her feel as comfortable as possible. And the biggest thing for a family, I think, is just making as many memories as you can while you have them. So we tried to do that as a family. We tried to, laugh with her as much as possible and do everything we could to, just get as many memories as we could before we lost her. I think that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, when you have a caregiver like my dad, you literally, with that disease, you are taking care of two lives, and that is very, very taxing for anybody that's ever had to do that. So we also took turns trying to take care of my dad, even if it's taking him out to dinner with just us, so he can take kind of a mental break for a couple hours to just get away and have normal conversation and stuff like that. So I think there's kind of two aspects of it. That disease is hard on the person, but it's really hard on the caregiver especially.
Yeah, I think that people lose sight of that a lot. What a great point to bring up. And it's ironic that Coach Knight also has, from what I understand, possibly been diagnosed with this as well. Been going through some issues over the last couple of years, publicized, and he's been out around. And we've seen him it seems like he's out making visits to guys, visiting people and getting around. Have you had any connection with Coach Knight here in the last couple of years?
No, I haven't, but I have heard a little bit about what he's going through, and that's definitely devastating to hear. And that just kind of shows it can happen to anybody. You know what I mean? With as sharp of a basketball, and probably one of the best basketball minds you'll ever see, this disease can take the best of minds, that's for sure. So, but no, I have not had contact with him.
And then, as speaking of Coach Knight and IU, we're getting closer to basketball season. We're just a few weeks away from exhibition game, and I can't believe basketball's already back, Tom.
I know, it feels like we just started football season, right? But it's definitely exciting, and I think I think the team's going to be a lot better than people think. I was kind of laughing when I saw, they picked Indiana to finish 10th in the Big Ten, and I think they'll be a lot better than that. But time will tell.
We're going to be back with more from Tom Coverdale here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hey, little sister, who is it you're with?
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Hey, welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, October 24th, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Let's get back to more of our interview with Tom Coverdale, who was kind enough to join us today on a day he's speaking at the COSIA gathering in honor of his mother, Marianne. Yeah, most people have not been kind to where they think Indiana is going to end up. A little surprising, somewhat. I think part of that is based on what Archie's done in the last couple of years, that the people are thinking that. But they seem to have pieces in place. They don't have a superstar. But you all were a team. You did have Jared Jeffries and yourself, but you guys didn't. Did you feel that your team had a superstar on it?
I think that all depends on how the superstar acts, and I don't know how it was last year with Romy or anything, so I can't speak to that, but I can speak to how ours acted, and Jared Jeffries, it did not feel like we had a superstar on our team just because of how he acted and practiced. I mean, he was so athletic and could win every sprint, and everybody knew it, and he would win every single sprint in preseason. He'd win every sprint in practice, and he played just as hard as everyone else, and I think that's important. And whenever you have your star player doing that, it carries down and makes every single player better. So I think, it did not feel like it did with us. Even though Jared was definitely a star basketball player, he didn't treat himself and act like he was one. And that's what made our team so great, and that's hard for young kids to do.
And as of right now, I don't know that this particular team even has a superstar. They seem to have a group of collective players that are equally good as the other is. I don't know that they really have that quote unquote superstar. Can that be helpful for a team sometimes to not have that guy, to have everyone more on equal footing?
Yeah, I think it can from a team standpoint, just because your playing time can go either way, and plus it's just going to be so competitive for who's going to play the minutes. But I also think it can help a coaching staff if you look at the other way. You can hold people accountable, which from a coaching standpoint, I think you should hold people accountable whether they're an all-star or not. But it's easier for a coach to hold the whole team accountable when you can sit guys and no one's really expected to start every game.
We'll see not too long as they open up the season with an exhibition game against Gannon. I think it's about a week or so away now, a week and a half away, thereabouts. Do you follow football much? I know you're busy. You got the twins. You got a job. You work all the time and a family. But you follow IU football. They're not having too bad of a season.
Yeah, I follow IU football, definitely keep up with their scores, but I'm more of a Colts fan. Me and my wife are season ticket holders to the Colts, so kind of take turns going to that, who's going to watch the Twins and who's not. And luckily for me, she's not as big a Colts fan as me, so a lot of times she's just like, get out of here and take your brother. So, no, but I definitely am fully invested in the Colts. But IU and college football, I definitely follow it, but I would say I'm more of a pro fan than college football.
The Hoosiers traveling to Lincoln, Nebraska this week, and actually, believe it or not, Tom, they are a 1.5-point favorite the last I checked over Nebraska at Nebraska. That's a little surprising.
I know. Well, when's the last time they've been one game away from being eligible for a bowl? And the last two games they've been on the road and they've been favored.
Yeah, well, plus this many games left in the season, bowl eligibility on the line. It's crazy.
Exactly. This early in the season, I think the young quarterback is going to be really good. I know he's been injured in and out a little bit, but that just shows the kind of depth they're having when Penix gets hurt and you can bring in a Ramsey who's already played and has experience, and they keep rolling. I think they're definitely doing a good job recruiting, better than they have in the past from what I've seen.
Absolutely. And then as far as basketball goes, this is also a team that's got a lot of youth to it, a lot of that going around. Not a lot of seniors on this team. Deron Davis and Devontae Green, they got a great mixture of Trace Jackson Davis, new face with Joey Brunk. Armand Franklin, also a freshman. He had 14 points in their close scrimmage against Marquette the other day. That's got to be a reassuring feeling for Archie Miller.
Yeah, definitely. I think the young kids are definitely going to help, and I'm anxious to see, just like everybody else, how it all fits together. Not even really getting to watch them play yet, but I definitely think having a glue guy and a guy like Joey Brunk is going to help inside. A guy that's always going to be in the right position, go get every rebound that he can, and then you definitely hear nothing but good things about Jackson Davis. So. Alongside with that, another thing I'm excited about is another year removed with, Finney at point guard, another year of experience. I think he's going to have a monster year just because he plays the game the right way, has a great basketball IQ, and I think Green is definitely going to benefit from that. I've always viewed him more as a shooting guard and kind of off-the-ball guard where he can just concentrate on scoring and less on making decisions, and that's what Finney's strength is. So another year of that backcourt after they've already played together for a little while, I think has a potential to be one of the best in the Big Ten.
And then, of course, they've got. Oh, I forget what point I was trying to make, but you've got some fresh faces that coming in there. How hard is that for a freshman to come in to make an impact on a team at this level?
Well, it's very hard because I equate it to, for a lot of kids, when you come, the jump from say 8th grade to freshman year in high school is big, but it's just as big of a jump from high school to college when you're looking at the speed and the, take my high school, for instance, our whole starting five was 6'2", and then I go to college and I'm basically the shortest one on my team. So you're playing against a totally different level of competition, a totally different level of height and strength, and it takes a while to adjust that, not only offensively. I think a lot of kids can adapt to it offensively because a lot of kids are offensive minded coming through high school. But the defensive aspect, I know for me, was the hardest. Just learning every different way on how to guard basically a player that is more athletic. And in college, it's hard. It's hard to adapt to the speed and the strength, like I said before, and it takes time to do that. But once the good players can adapt quickly and pick it up from there, so it's always exciting to see the freshmen and how quickly they pick it up and how well they get in, especially the second half of their freshman season.
You've got to be pretty happy with Jacoby Brissett, the job he's done at quarterback for the Colts, man. A lot of people they thought the sky was falling when Andrew Luck retired at the beginning of the season, but the Colts, they're, I'd have to say, exceeding expectations maybe?
Oh, 100%. So I finally get a vacation with my wife and another couple, no kids. Okay, we go to Jamaica. The first night we're there is when Andrew Luck, announces his retirement. So talk about ruining the first night of your vacation, first of all.
I'm sure your wife was happy about that.
Yeah, I'm talking to my friend who was with us on vacation. I was like, at first reaction, I think I had every reaction of the Colts, like the season's over, this, that, or whatever. And then it gets to about midway through the week, and he's a Bears fan. And I'm like, look, the good thing is Brissett, everybody on that team loves him. So they still have a chance to maybe be 8-8. And he's like, you are out of your mind. So, but as you got into the season, and I think it shows on, the defense is finally coming around to where we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. They struggled a little bit early, had some injuries, but I think they are definitely turning around. And you can't ask for more from Brissett. Being a leader and he takes care of the ball just as well as any other quarterback. And we put up 14 touchdowns already, something like that. So he is definitely not a weak point of our organization, and that's saying a lot when you lose a guy like Luck a couple weeks before the season.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Indiana football a little bit with Peyton Ramsey coming in for the injured Michael Penix. But, man, they're not missing a beat, and the team is rallying around. It says a lot about the Colts, that team, that they can just not miss a beat because the quarterback in the NFL level it may be bigger than any other position in pro sports, I think, as far as the importance to a team. And the fact that they haven't missed a beat and they have just rallied around it and just won, that's pretty amazing.
It is, and I think it speaks to Ballard more than anything. How many fans were out there, and I was one of them, when Luck was doing so well? It's like, why are we not trading Brissett and trying to get something for him, because Luck is going to be here, and if he gets hurt, we're done anyway. And obviously that's why he's the general manager, and us as fans are not.
That's the one. They got to get that job done. But Tom, I can't thank you enough, man. I know you got to get off and speak at the Sokoa today. I can't thank you enough. We greatly appreciate you. Love having you on anytime. Look forward to it now the basketball season's on. We'll get you back on again soon.
All right. Sounds good. Anytime. I appreciate you having me on, and have a great day.
You bet. Tell your wife and the kids we said hello. Thank you, and have a great day as well. Hey, we got... There's Tommy Coverdale. We're so grateful to have him on as he goes out and speaks to Sokola today. But now we're going to move right into our reporter segment. Our good friend Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. Taylor, how are you, brother?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition. Dustin, how's it going with you?
I'm doing well, Jim. How about yourself?
Cannot complain. Ready for some football. We're going to pick up Sean Callahan in the break from Husker Online and get the Nebraska perspective. But since we were kind of doing things a little different halfway through the break today with Tom Coverdale, I wanted to get you guys on and talk. This is a gigantic game for Indiana as they head out to Nebraska. Couple of reasons. First and foremost, obviously, they're one game short of bowl eligibility. With this many games left, it's crazy. But not really, because if I thought this team could win 7-8 games before the season. That Ohio State game kind of derailed things for a minute, I think. But then once we saw that Ohio State was just a runaway train, and that's what they're going to do to everybody, it quickly got back to reality. In Indiana, their fortunes, unfortunately, have been balanced on a quarterback situation that has been tenuous at best. Of course, Nebraska is facing that same thing. But ironically, both guys, the spread on this game is blowing my mind. You don't see a lot of movement in spreads. Usually they may go up another point or so. This thing has bounced back and forth 4 straight days. Indiana opened at a 2.5-point favorite. Then they were a 3-point favorite. The next day they were a 1.5-point underdog. The next day they were a 1.5-point favorite. Today they're a 2.5-point underdog. This thing is going back and forth, and I think that's very indicative of how this game is going to be, Dustin.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that you kind of alluded to why you're seeing the spread go back and forth. It's because there are so many question marks. Nebraska, are they going to play Noah Vedral or are they going to play Adrian Martinez at quarterback? Is Wandale Robinson healthy? Maurice Washington is essentially dismissed from the team this week. So there's a lot of question marks at Nebraska. And then obviously at Indiana, you don't know if you're going to get Michael Penix or Peyton Ramsey. So that's interesting. I didn't realize it was 4 straight days. I knew the line had shifted in Nebraska's favor, at least this morning, but that's interesting that you bring that up. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting game because I think you look at what both teams offer, and it's kind of a coin toss at this point. And just who's playing is going to have a huge factor. I think this game plays very well into Indiana's hand when you look at what Nebraska has done this season. It's a team that turns the ball over frequently. It's a team that's penalized quite a bit. So that also favors Indiana. The big concern I would have for the Hoosiers is, you're going into Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, playing in front of 90,000. I know you've done it at Ohio State and Michigan, but this is a game where you could have some wide eyes a little bit. So it's definitely an interesting matchup. I think it's going to be one of the more underrated matchups of the weekend, I think.
Taylor, I think that would be the point that Dustin just brought up about going into Lincoln, Nebraska, would be a point of more concern had Indiana not did what they did up at East Lansing this year. They went up there, 70,000 people, and it was like they didn't care. It didn't matter where they were. They played like they were playing at home. So I'm a little less concerned about the crowd, although the noise level may be a problem with 90,000 people for Peyton Ramsey and crew.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, too, where Indiana hasn't played at Nebraska since 1977. I don't know if a lot of guys on this roster understand that when you go to Nebraska, it's going to be an environment that's similar to going to Michigan or to Michigan State or Ohio State or Penn State. I think there is potential for some of these younger guys to be caught off guard with what the environment will be like, because Nebraska's environment, their fan base, all of that hasn't really necessarily translated to success on the field in recent seasons. So, with the short memory that a lot of young college football players have when it comes to programs like Nebraska, I think like I said, I think there is potential for them to be thrown off. But I think, if you get Mike Penix, I think that's really important. Peyton Ramsey has a lot of experience, and he's played against Nebraska before. He has not played against Nebraska before. That's my fault. But he's played against teams like Nebraska. He's been in environments similar to Nebraska. So, if they can, they have some stability at quarterback, and I think that's the most important position when you're talking about noise like this.
Yeah, Nebraska's got a lot of issues. We talk about Indiana having some injury problems, but man, I don't think it compares to Nebraska. As they pointed out at the beginning, you don't know who their quarterback's going to be. They've got a wide receiver that's out. They've got a kicker that hasn't played for them all season. They just cut one of their top running backs. So they, too, are going through a lot of problems as Scott Frost is trying to get that program turned around. It could be a perfectly opportune time for Indiana to take advantage of that situation and get that sixth win. And Dustin, it would be, I think, shocking to a lot of people. And while I guess there's some pride there because they're actually doing it. At the beginning of the season, we looked at this team and me and a lot of other people thought, hey, this team can win 7 or 8 games. They have the talent, and they do. The question mark has been on the defense, and it continues to be there. And that's something where they have to really perform this week to get this job done.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so important to know whether or not Adrian Martinez and Wandale Robinson are playing, because those are the two guys that are really explosive. Obviously, Nebraska's got a good guy in J.D. Spielman and a good running back in Dedrick Mills. Those guys can bust plays open too. But you saw last week that at times Indiana gave up explosive plays. A part of that is actually just what Maryland does. I mean, they got some really good athletes in College Park, but you're going to face even better athletes. I don't know that Nebraska's quite as deep with its athleticism as Maryland is. And I know that's crazy to say, but the guys that they have at Nebraska are, as you said, they're dinged up. They've been a little underwhelming at times this season. So I think for Indiana, what you've seen the last couple of weeks, again, I know I sound like a broken record every week, but Indiana got 2 key turnovers late in that game against Maryland. This is a Nebraska team that turns the ball over frequently, and it's a team that is penalized often. So Indiana's defense needs to take advantage of those opportunities, and they need to limit the explosive plays. I think if they can keep guys in front of them, not allow the deep ball and hit their running lanes, I think that they're going to be just fine in this game, and it's going to be a hard-fought contest. I don't think either team's going to blow either one out of the water. But if Indiana can continue to take the football away like they did against Rutgers, like they did against Maryland, I think they're going to be in really good shape.
We're joined by Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition, Taylor Lehman from the Hoosier.com Indiana Rivals. And after the break, we're going to pick up Sean Callahan from Husker Online, Nebraska Rivals, to continue this discussion as Indiana travels to Lincoln, Nebraska Saturday to take on the Cornhuskers at Memorial Stadium. That game will be at 3:30. A game there. And Taylor, this is, would you rate this as the biggest game in Tom Allen's coaching career, his head coaching career?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think the reason why is because this 4-game stretch here where they didn't play Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State for the first time since 2016 in a 4-game stretch. This is when a lot of pressure is applied to a coaching staff that is trying to get this program to break through. It's a weaker part of the schedule. They're all winnable games. If Indiana comes away with bowl eligibility before their second bye week, that puts them in a scenario they haven't been in. And I mean, in a scenario they weren't even in 2007. In 2007, when they went 5-1 to start the season, but they didn't become bowl eligible until near the end of the season in that year. I think they went a month losing games before they got their 6th win. So if they can become bowl eligible this early and kind of add on to 6 games, Tom Allen said that nobody around the program is talking about winning 6 games. They just want to win as many games as they can and just get to a bowl game and then win that bowl game. It's no longer trying to get to the bowl game anymore. It's winning that bowl game. And when you're talking about getting to bowl eligibility this soon and adding on to it, that's not really an expectation that Indiana has seen. I mean, I would say even in the 21st century. And so I think, and I kind of want to build off the point that Dustin was saying earlier about the defense and how it needs to be kind of on top of its game this week against Nebraska, because Tom Allen said something really interesting. I'm planning on asking him about it today when we get him for about 10 minutes at Memorial Stadium. But he said on his radio show last night that he felt more comfortable in his defense against Maryland, despite the ability for them to break big plays. He thought that they could still be aggressive on the defensive end. I think they kind of showed that, especially in the back half of the game. But I think if they kind of take that aggression into Nebraska and build off of that road aggression against Maryland. I think that could be a huge key in this game as well. I just want to kind of build off Dustin's point there.
Absolutely. We're talking with Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition, Taylor Lehman from the Hoosier.com Indiana Rivals. And after the break, we're going to talk to Sean Callahan from Husker Online, Nebraska Rivals. We've got a lot more coming up. It's the reporters segment here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. We're back with all that and more right after this.
Got what I got the hard way, and I'll make it better each and every day.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Thursday, October 24th. And it is game week, and it's a big game, of course. We've been talking about Indiana taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers on Saturday. Joined now by Sean Callahan from Husker Online, Nebraska Rivals. Sean, thanks a lot for joining us, man.
Yeah, good morning. It's great to be on. Thank you.
You betcha. We're with Dustin Schutte from the Saturday Tradition. Also, Taylor Lehman from the Hoosier.com. Indiana Rivals is on with us as well, Sean. We've been talking a little bit about the upcoming game on Saturday. This is a big game for Indiana. I know it's big for Nebraska in some different ways, but it's big for Indiana in the fact that, first of all, it's Nebraska. It's at Nebraska. It's a place they haven't played at since 1977. And this is a game that has been weird. I was talking to the guys before. I've never seen a point spread jump back and forth 4 straight days. Indiana's the favorite one day. Nebraska was the favorite the next day. Indiana was the favorite yesterday. And then today I look, and now Nebraska is a 2.5-point favorite. This game is going to be a nail-biter, I think, down to the wire.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's probably based on practice reports on Adrian Martinez. There were just so many unknowns with him. We do know he repped out yesterday just from reports, but that's still going to be a question. How mobile will he be? What will he look like? He's been out of it now 3 weeks. He had a bye week in there, so he's been able to rest at a game plus a bye week. So he'll be 3 weeks between last contact on the football field. But to me, that then on Indiana's side, the questions with Penix Jr. and the head injuries, they're playing that close to the vest out there as well. So I think the odds makers are having a hard time with this one, just knowing which quarterbacks are going to play. And Wan'Dale Robinson could be out for Nebraska. There's still questions with him. And then we know the Maurice Washington situation this week with him being dismissed. So Nebraska's got a lot of unknowns going into Saturday with their offense.
As far as that goes, Sean, with all that stated, and let's say Peyton Ramsey is the quarterback, how does Nebraska see this Indiana team coming in?
They've talked about how big and physical they are on defense. They said they're one of the more physical defensive fronts they'll see that they've seen so far this year. So I know that's jumped out to them in what they've seen on tape. With the offense, I mean, Penix Jr. and what he's done on the perimeter, I think that's going to, if he plays, that's going to give Nebraska a lot of problems. They have really struggled with zone read concepts, run pass option concepts, with guys on the edge and linebackers in general just getting sucked in and then leaving the edge open for big plays. So that would probably be my biggest worry for Nebraska going into this game, is defending the perimeter and the edge. We know Stevie Scott is a big physical back as well, and if he can keep the Hoosiers on schedule offensively, Minnesota proved they ran it really well against Nebraska, but a lot of it was assignment errors and alignment errors and guys just missing tackles. The defensive line did their job up front a lot on that Minnesota game, but the linebackers in the back seven in general just came in with bad angles and bad assignment reads, and it led to huge plays from Minnesota.
Dustin, bring you back in. You cover the entire Big Ten. You've watched both of these teams play all season, and I can't believe that I'm going to say this, but going into this game, even with Peyton Ramsey at quarterback, with the way the situation is on both sides, I think Indiana's the better team and should win this game if all things go the way they should.
I think if you were maybe to play this game on a neutral field, I think you give the edge to Indiana. And let's give – I know you shot out a video earlier this week, Jim. Let's give a lot of credit to Peyton Ramsey for what he's done stepping in. You talk about a time in which kids aren't playing, they immediately enter the transfer portal, and he's stepped up and not only stepped up for his team, but he's delivered on the field. I mean, he steps up and completes 20 of his 27 passes, 193 yards and a touchdown last week against Maryland. So credit to him. But yeah, I think Indiana is kind of hitting its stride. We were worried about the run game a little bit at the beginning of the season. And now it looks like it's picking up steam. I mean, Stevie Scott's now, I think, the 4th or 5th ranked running back in the Big Ten. He's rushed for over 100 yards each of the last 2 weeks. The offensive line, which was another concern, is starting to move people out of the way. I know that's partly because of who they've played in Rutgers and Maryland, but you've got to do that against those teams before you can do it against a team like Nebraska. I think, obviously, if Michael Penix plays, then the odds for Indiana to win this game increase dramatically. But I do think that this is, even with Peyton Ramsey on the field, I think that Indiana's got more than enough talent to go into Nebraska and come away with a victory and get to the bowl eligibility. Again, I know you said you're not quite as concerned about it, but playing in Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, that's still could be a little wide eyes, especially if you come down to the wire and it depends on the last couple minutes in that game.
Yeah, and by not concerned, what I meant was the fact that they played well at Michigan State. So they played in front of big crowds before. But don't get me wrong. This is a formidable place to play. It's one of the most iconic places in all of college football. Taylor, in talking about Peyton Ramsey, to me, that's an advantage Indiana has over Nebraska, where they haven't had this situation. They don't have a backup quarterback that's been a starter for a year and a half, 2 years, and that has played substantially this season on top of that. So that's a huge advantage for Indiana to have a guy like Peyton Ramsey that can step in. It's almost like 1A and 1B for them.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that Noah Vedral has had some experience. He played at UCF with Scott Frost, so there's it's a little bit more than just having a backup quarterback who hasn't really played this season for Nebraska, but also Peyton Ramsey. I mean, he made some throws in the game against Maryland, especially the one at the end of the first half to Nick Westbrook in the corner of the end zone that he's shown that he can make, but he isn't asked to do that very often, and so. If he can make some of those throws, I think that's crucial. But honestly, I think they're just going to have to rely a lot on the rushing attack this week. And if Mike Penix is the quarterback, I think that just opens up things a little bit more. And I think that's why having Mike Penix could help Indiana most in this regard. But Peyton Ramsey, he's shown that he can run this offense, and that's not really a surprise to anybody around Indiana. Like he's ran the offense well. It's just the limitations that are applied to the offense when he's in the game. So when it comes to like his arm strength and those short passing routes that Mike Penix can get the ball out quickly and supplement that rushing attack, they're a little bit slower with Peyton Ramsey, and that allows less time for Watt Fillier, Peyton Hendershot, Nick Westbrook, Ty Freifogel to really make those moves on defenders like they need to. I mean, Indiana's up there in the Big Ten for yards after catch per reception. So when it comes to facilitating that kind of an offense, Mike Penix is best. But yeah, Peyton Ramsey, I mean, he can step in. He's efficient. Sometimes numbers don't always translate. I know a lot of national media, they'll look at the numbers that Peyton Ramsey puts up and they'll understand the quarterback competition. But when you just look at their arms, you can understand why Mike Penix is the starting quarterback. So there is a little bit of a drop off, and teams can typically stack the box a little bit more against Indiana when Peyton Ramsey plays. But I honestly don't think it's going to make a whole lot of a difference. And I do think if Peyton Ramsey plays, just having that experience in there will also help Indiana too.
Sean, the one thing about Nebraska, I equate Nebraska football to Indiana basketball. They are a sleeping giant, one that has been one of the best in its sport, but has not been living up to that standard. Indiana basketball certainly fills that category right now. Nebraska is one that is similar. They you think back to the days of Tom Osborne and the OU rivalry and all that stuff. It was incredible. I grew up watching Nebraska football. It was amazing. The fan base, I know they want to get back there. It seems like Scott Frost is the right guy. How's the patience been with that? Because it's not easy for fan bases to wait for greatness.
Yeah, it's just kind of trying to figure out the right formula. It's a different league than the Big 12. This is year 9. And I think the transition to the Big 10, especially when you add Jim Harbaugh, Urban Meyer, James Franklin, a lot of these guys that have come into the league since Nebraska joined 9 years ago, it's made a difference. I mean, Nebraska came in the Big 10 and they won 9 or 10 games, 5 out of 6 years, their first 6 years in the conference. But they just didn't have, a lot of marquee wins. It was back in the 8-game conference schedule. I think going to 9 has made it a lot harder, as we know, to have better seasons for everybody. But the last 2 years have been back-to-back 4-8 seasons, which is unheard of. And you're right on the comparisons of Indiana basketball, because just like Hoosier basketball, if Nebraska's struggling, the stadium is still full no matter what. And that's the difference between Nebraska and a lot of places. Come rain or shine, no matter what the record is, there's 88,000, 89,000 people in that stadium every Saturday. It's still the biggest deal in this state. The whole place shuts down and people support this team. I mean, a year ago, they were 4-8, and they had 2 of the coldest games in 25 years in Memorial Stadium, still sellouts. They played Bethune-Cookman on a makeup game, sellout, full house. And that reminds me a lot of Indiana basketball. I know they've had some rough years as well, and you still see that place full every time the Hoosiers are on the basketball court, and Nebraska football is very similar here.
Yeah, Dustin, when you play a team like Nebraska, like Sean said, even when they're, I hate to use the word mediocre, but mediocre, they're better than that just because of the advantage they have of playing at home with a fan base like that. But this is an Indiana team that they don't know about any of that, fortunately. And I think that they had this different mindset. Tom Allen has done a tremendous job with his LEO mantra, love each other. And these guys seem to be buying into that. And I use that game at Michigan State as a barometer of how well they played on the road. It was like they didn't care where they were. But this is a different animal. 70,000 people, that's a lot of people. 90, that's a lot more. And it's a lot louder. And these are big-time football fans. It's going to be a scenario that most of these players haven't been in unless they've been to Ohio State or unless they've been to Michigan, and all of them haven't been there.
Right. And Indiana went, I believe, to Ohio State and to Michigan last year and came up short. They played well in those games, and I think that's really what concerns me about it. It's not necessarily the fact that it's at Nebraska, because as you said, that they did play well against Michigan State. They have played well on the road at Ohio State and at Michigan in years before. I think the concern is what's the mindset? And you saw against Michigan State, Michigan State was able to drive right down the field at the end of the game, set up a game-winning field goal. If the game is close, if it's within a score, how much does the crowd become a factor? How much does the noise become a factor for a guy like Peyton Ramsey or for Michael Penix, who's a first-time starting quarterback? How much does it affect the playmakers? So that's the aspect. It's not necessarily just going into Lincoln, Nebraska, but when you expect that this is a game that's going to be, again, I'll say a coin flip. Both teams come in here pretty evenly matched, I'd say. That can be the difference, and it may be the difference if it comes down to, Indiana having the ball or Indiana needing to come up with a big stop and not having the crowd on its side. I think that that's going to be an interesting aspect if this game comes down to the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, Taylor, this is a game that reminds me a lot of Nebraska's last game, which they played Northwestern, a game that did come down to the end. It did come down to Nebraska going down and getting that field goal to win the game. I think this is going to be one of those close games as well. Indiana can't put itself in that position of allowing a team to come down and score at the end.
Yeah, that's right. But also, I will say, even if they are in Lincoln, I think one of the big thing, the big points of growth that Tom Allen thought that he saw in his team at Maryland this past weekend was that they had their defense on the field to win the game, and they came through. And I think that's something that, with youth and inexperience, Maryland's not exactly the environment that Indiana's going to see at Nebraska. But I think getting guys like Reese Taylor or Juwan Burgess or Jalen Williams, getting those guys confident on the defensive side, I think that's crucial when you talk about going on the road for the second week in a row at Nebraska. So if it does come down to Nebraska driving for a game-winning or game-tying score, I think Tom Allen feels a little bit more confident in his defense this week than maybe he did 2 weeks ago when they were playing Rutgers and they were coming off the game against Michigan State where that was a similar case and the defense just didn't really come through.
Sean, how big of a game is this for Nebraska? Not in name, obviously. Playing Indiana doesn't mean squat. We all know that. But as far as the situation, the wins, trying to get to where they're trying to get to, and the fact that this is a home game against a team that is considered a middle-of-the-pack Big Ten team, I don't think that this is a game that Nebraska can really afford to lose.
No. To put it this way, I was talking to one of Scott Frost's high-level administrators on his staff yesterday after practice. And I go, God, this is a big one this week. And he goes, you effing think? That's the understatement of the century, going into this game, just because it is a swing game. I wrote this today. It's a swing game for both programs because for Nebraska, it somewhat gets it back on track to, all right, we're going to go to a bowl game and build this thing in year 2 of Scott Frost. For Indiana, it gets you guys to 6 wins and, sets up maybe an 8-4 type year, which I don't know when I don't know my Hoosier history all that well, but 8-4 doesn't seem like that's happened very often. In
1993, I think.
What year was it again?
I think in 1993.
So, yeah, I think for Indiana, this is a game that swings them up a notch. It gets them to maybe a bowl game that they, like a Jacksonville or a Holiday Bowl or a much better bowl game for their season. And for a lot of the Hoosier players, obviously they haven't experienced that. So if they can get this win and beat Purdue and, some of the other more winnable games down the stretch here for them, all of a sudden the Hoosiers are going to be in one of the best bowl games they've been in the modern day era.
Yeah, they haven't won 7 games since 1994. 8 games was in 93. That's how long it has been, Sean. So you're right on. And I agree with you too. This is a swing game for both teams. Whoever wins this game is going to come out with a lot of momentum. If it's Indiana, they're bowl eligible. They've still got 4 games to play. It could be a tremendous season for them. And if Nebraska wins, this is the kind of momentum they can build off of to getting back to where they're trying to get to, Dustin. This is it's hard to say this is one of the biggest games in the Big Ten this week, but it's one of the biggest games for these two programs without question.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I really like the point that Sean made in that it's a swing game. And I think if Indiana wins this game, you look at who they've got left on their schedule. You look at Northwestern, that's a winnable game. Michigan is tough, but that you get them at home, that could be a potential winnable game. And then you look at the end of the season against Purdue, that's a winnable game. My concern is if Indiana doesn't get this win this week and you're sitting at 5-3, you play a Northwestern team that's been pretty bad, but you never really count Pat Fitzgerald out. And let's say you drop that game, all of a sudden you're 5-4 heading into a bye week, and then you got Penn State, Michigan, and Purdue. And then your back's up against the wall. And we've seen the last 2 years, Indiana with its back up against the wall going into West Lafayette, or playing Purdue, I should say, hasn't been good for them. So I think that this is a huge game, more so for Indiana, just because if you can't get to that 6th win this season, and I know Taylor talked about this earlier in the show, if you can't get to that 6th win, it kind of becomes, well, when are we going to go bowling under Tom Allen? So I think that it's huge for both teams. I think with Nebraska, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in Lincoln, so I don't know the mindset there. But I feel like maybe the expectations have been tempered a little bit, seeing by what's happened on the field, and knowing, okay, this isn't the year we're going to win the Big Ten West. There's still some things out of place. We got to get things right here. So I think it's almost more important for Indiana. But again, I'm not in Lincoln, Nebraska, where it's where that's the big thing in the state. So I may be out of place saying that. But boy, I really think that this is a huge game for Tom Allen, and to put his stamp on this program and say we've finally arrived.
I agree. You have what do you think happens with this game? Prediction?
I think Indiana, if they can jump out early, I think that they'll win this game. I think that there's a lot going on with Nebraska right now. I think that they've got some concerns. There's been some team issues with Maurice Washington being dismissed. They've got some injury issues. I think if Indiana jumps out, gets a 10-point lead or something, I think they win. I'm going to say that this game's going to be high scoring. I'm going to predict that Indiana wins this game 37-34.
Ooh, it's going to be a fun one. Taylor Lehman, what do you think happens in this game?
Yeah, I feel similarly to Dustin, but I think it kind of depends on which quarterback plays for Indiana. I think if Mike Penix plays, I think this could be one of those games where Indiana can piece something together on the offensive side. Maybe a little bit more so than it was able to against even Maryland or at Michigan State. I think if Mike Penix plays, I think you're looking at potentially a 2-score game where Indiana wins. I think that's 100% a reality. But if Peyton Ramsey plays, I think it's going to be much closer. But either way, I do think Indiana comes away with the win. I think they're going to have to run the ball really well. I think Stevie Scott could see his 3rd straight 100-yard game. And he's only had 8 so far in his career. So I think, this could be, I kind of agree with Dustin. This is a big game for Indiana when you talk about even just getting above the expectations for them this season. They've beaten teams that they were expected to beat up until Maryland. That win against Maryland was a decent statement game. But if you beat Nebraska at Nebraska, no matter how good that Nebraska team is, that's a win above some of these other wins you've been able to get in recent seasons.
Sean Callahan from Husker Online, you're the dissenting voice here in Nebraska voice. Well, how do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, guys, I mean, there's a level of, I don't want to say desperation, but that's what it feels like. I mean, in having 2 weeks for this team to practice and get healthy and get ready for it. Remember, Nebraska and Michigan State had the latest buys of anybody in the conference. They had to play 7 in a row. So Nebraska's had a lot of time to reflect. And I'll tell you, getting Maurice Washington in that situation behind them, it was becoming a major distraction the last month. Just his attitude, his antics, things that were going on behind the scenes, that I think the team actually really respected Scott Frost for doing it, because this guy is a superstar talent, but just, a kid that wasn't doing anything right off the field, not running the plays right on the field. And it hindered Nebraska offensively. I think if Martinez is back and healthy and they can still find a running game to get about 200 yards, I think at home Nebraska wins this game. If it's in Indiana, I think Indiana wins the game right now. The field goal kicker should be back for Nebraska too. They've gone the first 7 games this season with essentially guys that have never kicked in college games having to kick field goals. So if Barrett Pickering is back, and I expect him to be, that's a huge difference for Nebraska, because they've had to go for a lot of 4th downs in that 25 to 35 yard range when they're with the ball. They've had to play possessions for 4 down possessions versus kicking 3 points. But I think Nebraska will win it. It will go down to the last possession. I think they win by, anywhere from 1 to 2 or 3 points. It's gonna be right down to the wire.
Yeah, I think one thing that everyone agrees on, this is going to be a hell of a game, and it should be a close one and a fun one. For those of us that are going to Nebraska, I cannot wait to get out there to check out the environment in this game, because I think it's going to be a great one. Dustin Schutte, I can't thank you enough, brother. Every week you join us. Make sure you check out his content on Saturday Tradition. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks. Always a pleasure.
You bet. Taylor Lehman from thehoosier.com, also Indiana Rivals. I'll see you out in Lincoln, I'm assuming.
Yep, I'll be out there.
All right, brother, thank you. And Sean Callahan, cannot thank you enough, man. Hopefully we can do this again, maybe when basketball rolls around, from Husker Online, Nebraska Rivals. Thank you so much for joining us as well.
Yeah, I'll see you guys in Lincoln, and hope you guys find a good steak on Friday night and enjoy the town.
Sounds good, brother. We appreciate you. Hey, we got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. From the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, we're back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. It's Thursday, October 24th. Man, what a loaded show. Reporters are it's always a great segment. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition, Taylor Lehman from Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com, and Sean Callahan from Husker Online joined us. Fun. Everybody seems to really love that segment. We enjoy doing them. It's a fun deal. We're going to continue that through football season, of course, into basketball season as well. There'll be times where we're doing 2 a week, I guess, when basketball starts to overlap, or maybe we can do it at the same time. Big weekend for Indiana, man. You heard us talking about it. Indiana travels to Nebraska for a big-time football game for them. Biggest game in Tom Allen's career, no doubt. If he wins this game, it is by far the biggest win on his ledger. It would get Indiana to bowl eligibility with 4 games to play. It would just send a wealth of confidence through this program. And they're doing this, bouncing back and forth between quarterbacks. Unbelievable. And to do it at a place called out in Lincoln, Nebraska, that would be special. It would be very, very, very special. We got some texts into the show that I haven't been able to get to yet. Tim texts in, if IU wins 8 games, do we start talking about Coach Allen as a candidate for Coach of the Year? In any other year, that would be a resounding yes. This year, unfortunately, there may be some talk, but you're going to have to beat out P.J. Fleck at Minnesota. He's 6-0 right now. He's going to be 7-0. They don't play anybody this week. He's going to be 7-0. He's rowing the boat, man. I think that he's going to be tough to beat out. I think Ryan Day's going to be tough to beat out. First-year coach at Ohio State, and they're one of the top teams in the country. A lot of people, including myself, thought there would be some fall-off there, but he's kept them in order. And it's hard to I mean, do I think he deserves that? Would that be Coach of the Year material? Hell yeah. You win 8 games in Indiana, to me, that is Coach of the Year because it's harder. It's harder than what Ryan Day's doing. It's harder than what P.J. Fleck's doing. He's played a soft schedule. He hasn't played Ohio State. He hasn't played at Michigan State. He hasn't done that. So do I think Tom Allen deserves it? Oh, hell yeah. But will he get it? Yeah, not so sure about that. Not so sure about that. So thanks for the text. Bill also texted in regards to our piece earlier with Tom Coverdale. Lost my mom to that. Such a horrible thing for a family to go through. Absolutely. We're sorry, Bill, that you had to go through that as well. But absolutely. And if Tom Coverdale can help some people, I'm sure that's exactly what he wants to do. Man, hey, we got a lot more coming up. Who's the – man, I already forgot. Mitchell Page. We're going to reboot for Mitchell. And then we're going to get out of here. I've got to get off to Tom Allen press conference today. So we got so much to do. And then tomorrow, back at it. The Todd Fathers on tomorrow. Tom Brew. Man, we got all kinds of stuff going on. A busy week. Then we got to head out to Nebraska. Man, it's all kinds of stuff going on. We're back with more from Indiana Sports Beat right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday, October 23rd. We're going to get you over the hump with my favorite, my man Mitchell Page. It's a Mitchell Palooza. How are you, Mitch?
What's up, Jim? Good to be back. Haven't been on too long. I apologize for that, but always happy to be here.
Hey, man, always grateful to have you on. And what a year it's been for Indiana football. We'll get to that. But how are things going for Mitchell? How's work? You keeping everybody alive and having a good time?
Yeah, we're trying to. It's busy, but I'm really enjoying it and happy to be just calm, not worrying about getting hit all the time. So that's good.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's it like not having a fall and not having to go through training camp, not having to worry about all the things that come along with being on a football team?
Yeah, it's, like I said, less painful, but I think if you ask any former player, you just miss the camaraderie and building for something and having a set goal that you're trying to achieve. It's just a little bit different. So finding new ways to give myself some goals and things I'm trying to work towards has been a bit of a challenge, but I'm getting better every day.
Mitch, when was your last year at IU? Was it 2015?
2017. Winter of 2017, so the Foster Farms Bowl.
17. Man, time's getting away too fast. I didn't think it was that long
ago.
This crazy.
Is the third season without. Crazy.
Well, they haven't played in a bowl game since you left, but this is the season, man. It looks like that they're heading in that direction, Mitchell. A great season so far for Tom Allen and the Indiana football team. They're 5-2 right now. They got a shot at Nebraska this weekend. On the road, it's tough, a tough environment, 90,000 people, of course, and they might be without Michael Penix. But even with all that, as crazy as it's going to sound, I still think they have a shot to win the game in Nebraska.
I think they have more than a shot. I just looked at it this morning. They're favored by 1.5 points. I think it's a game they should win. Watched Nebraska a couple times, and they're okay, but I don't think they're great on offense. And defense, there's a lot of holes. IU's done a great job getting up and down the field this season, and they're really good on defense. They have made some plays to win the game on defense, which has been really big and something I think a lot of IU fans weren't necessarily used to. So it was a good change, welcome change, but I think they got a shot. I'm hesitant to say the number that I think, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think they get to 9. I think they beat Michigan too.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you. I definitely do, especially if they get Michael Penix back. I've kind of had him. I didn't have him marked for 9 wins. I'll be honest with you, but I had him marked to win 8 this year. And after that Ohio State game, a lot of us were worried about that. But then we didn't.
Worried.
Well, we would come to see that Ohio State does that to everybody that they play. So that Ohio State loss not looking so bad, especially when they went up to East Lansing and performed like they did. But this is a team this week that's probably going to be led by Peyton Ramsey. We don't know that. But, man, talk about this new offense with Kalen DeBoer in there. He's really shook things up.
Yeah, it's very refreshing. They come out firing as opposed to the little dink and dunk. Even with Peyton, they're spreading the ball around. And I think just my philosophy on offense, get the ball in the perimeter and give ball to the guys that are fast and get away from all the huge people. Make sure you run it, but let's spin it around a little bit. Let's expand the field. And they just didn't do that the last 2 years. This year has been, even Peyton, who people say has a worse arm, whatever it is, he came out ready to fire it a little bit, and I was happy to see that.
Yeah, and this team is having some success. They're going, and like I said, they went on the road to East Lansing, didn't flinch. Now they go into a place, Lincoln, Nebraska, very iconic, of course, one of the most iconic places in college football, of all of college football. Mitchell, you played in some great places, some historic, on the road at Michigan, on the road at Ohio State, on the road at Penn State. These are all unbelievable tough places to play. Nebraska, also one of those. Indiana hasn't been there since 1977. Of course, Nebraska joining the Big Ten a few years back, but Indiana has not gone there until now. That's a place I don't think you ever got an opportunity to play. What's it like going into those unique venues like that?
It's a lot of making sure you get there early, get out on the field early, because it's an iconic place. To say that the venue doesn't matter, the fans don't matter, you're kidding yourself. But getting yourself out on the field, in the environment early so you can kind of ooh and ah, and this place is amazing. Imagine all the great players that have played here, the awesome things that have happened. 2 hours before the game, walk around, hour and a half before the game, all right, now let's play. Field's the exact same, let's play. But you have to, when you're a first time there, they haven't played there since 1970s, you have to take some time and just appreciate how special places like that are. Because they don't, in the Big Ten, it seems like everybody's got one. But in the grand scheme of things, those places, they just don't exist that often. So you have to take some time to really take in how cool that atmosphere is going to be.
Yeah, and it's going to be a one that's going to make it a tough atmosphere to play in as well, just by nature of having 90,000 people. Anytime you're in a situation where you've got 90,000 people, that's a tough situation to be in. But this team is – I was up at East Lansing, and I'll tell you, man, I was surprised, pleasantly surprised on how well they handled that crowd. It was like – didn't matter to them. They didn't phase them one bit. They just kept coming, and they're going to need that because 90,000 people, it's a lot of people, and it gets pretty loud, especially on offense, Mitchell.
Yeah, there's going to be some silent counts, extra communication. I'm sure they've been practicing all week, different ways to signal in plays because it does. It gets loud, and especially in an environment when Nebraska isn't doing as well as the fans probably wish they were. So there's going to be some hostility in the noise. So it'll get even louder. They'll be prepared, but it was different in practice. We crank up the noise on the speakers and have to do sound counts all week.
And Mitchell, when you go to these kinds of places, how difficult is it though when you're especially with an offense like Indiana runs, where they do a lot of checkdowns and a lot of play changing, where you change the play at the line of scrimmage. That makes a lot of that stuff more difficult.
Yeah, it definitely does. Having a pace about you. So, I mean, it's just think about it as a fan. It's hard to be loud for 5 straight minutes. If we can apply pressure to the defense, positive plays, don't give the crowd any reason to get into it by taking a sack or getting tackled behind the line. Check downs for 5 yards. You do that every time, that's a touchdown. Consistent, positive plays will keep the crowd out of it early, and if we can be consistent, keep them out of it often.
Mitchell's got a recipe for success, baby. Hey, how special would it be, though, to see this Indiana team that they've, I don't want to say struggled the last couple of years, because it's not been a struggle. It's just been, they just couldn't get over the hump, it seems like. This is a year they could possibly do more than just get over the hump. I mean, if they win this game at Nebraska, that makes them bowl eligible before we even get out of October with 4 games yet to play.
Yeah, I think that bowl eligibility at this point is given. If I'm on the team, I'm trying to play on January 1st at this point. That's what I've been thinking since watching them last week handle some different looks from the Maryland quarterback going out, the way they handled some adversity, penalties, a ton of penalties, and to come back and still win the game on the road. I think I'm trying to win 9 games. I don't know, 10 games, if I think that's reasonable, but I'm trying to win 9. I'm trying to play an SEC team, a top SEC team, in a big-time bowl. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I've set my sights on.
And, of course, the more games you win, the better bowl you're going to end up in, the better time of play. That January 1st bowls, those bowls come to those guys that win 9 games. And how incredible would it be to see Indiana go from not being in a bowl to being in, like, the little low-tier bowls to jump into a 9-win bowl? That would be unbelievable.
I think it would be unbelievable in so many ways, and I was just talking about this the other day. The biggest way it would be unbelievable is recruiting. You start to get kids, not necessarily from Alabama, that are picking us over Alabama, but we start to creep our way in. Even just 1 year, I think you get a couple kids the first year to say, hey, this team's going somewhere. I want to prove that I can be a part of something that's turning into something pretty cool. And you don't just get the kids that are, no, I don't think anybody at IU is like this, but around the country, that just want to play early. You start to get into a new tier of recruit.
Taiwan Mullen and then Michael Penix, those guys from Florida, and the guys from Detroit and all around. I mean, they're starting. That would really start an out. I mean, I'm really impressed with what Tom Allen has done recruiting wise as it is. But I can't imagine, and that's been based on a couple of 5 and 7 seasons. He wins 8-9 games, and I don't know how high the ceiling can go for Indiana.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things, Tom Allen's obviously done a great job. This is a recruiter is what he is. He's a phenomenal recruiter. That's what he's been his whole career. But one of the most important things, if they win 8 or 9 games, the kids that came in that are young, that trusted Coach Allen, are now going to tell their friends back home. They got a bunch of buddies back home that are really good players. Say, hey, this is a pretty cool place to play. The school is awesome. The people around the program are awesome, and we're winning. And I think the best recruiting you can do is your buddies. You're going to trust them first and foremost. So this is going to be a huge end of the season, and the way they handle this, kind of in a position they've never really been in, I think will be a huge indication of where this program is going to go for the future.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. These guys like Taiwan Mullen, whose brother played for Clemson, who plays for the Oakland Raiders now, whose cousin is Lamar Jackson. You know, they played with a lot of talent, but they also have a lot of friends, like you said, family members. They a lot of them have brothers that are coming up and playing. And the inroads that Tom Allen has made into the state of Florida alone are staggering. But like you said, he started hitting into states, football power states, like Alabama, like Ohio, where they're getting better players than they're getting now, which is hard to believe because they've had back-to-back recruiting classes that have topped anything Indiana's ever seen.
Yep, and it's showing on the field. You build with recruiting, and better players need a better team, first and foremost. So they're doing a great job.
Absolutely, and for the most part, I think that Tom Allen has a pretty good staff around him as well. I know there's some youth on defense. Kane Womack is a very, very young defensive coordinator, but they seem to be getting through the growing pains. But man, it's a pretty good situation all the way around right now for Tom Allen.
Certainly hard to argue. I was worried a little bit when we saw Michigan State. IU goes up there and beats Michigan State in every facet of the game except the scoreboard. And we've seen that show before. So I was a little bit worried there, like, man, are we ever going to get there? Are we ever going to get there? And then on defense, Juwan Burgess makes a play like he does, rips the ball out. That's the start. Now the finisher is the offense going in and scoring and putting the game away. But that's a play that wins games. That's a winning play. That's the kind of play that Michigan State made to beat us. Winning plays. And I think IU is more and more and more doing that every week. So they're definitely on a great trend.
Absolutely. And then talk about what you've seen out of little that we have seen from him. Michael Penix, he hasn't gotten to play that much because of injury this year, but when he's been in there, he's been spectacular.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add. He is spectacular. His arm is phenomenal, and I think he's the least afraid to let it loose that I've seen. I mean, he just trusts his guys, trusts his receivers. They've obviously worked incredibly hard in the off season, and they trust each other. That's all I have to say. When he's in there, I think we can beat anybody, except maybe Ohio State. They're pretty good.
They are pretty good, and we've got another game like that coming up here soon, Penn State,
Yep.
At Happy Valley, which is not going to make it any easier. But there hasn't been a lot of fall off with Peyton Ramsey in there. Kalen DeBoer's offensive scheme he's done a marvelous job of scheming to the quarterbacks and against these defenses. But like you said earlier, he gets the ball to a lot of different people, and in doing so, it keeps this offense it's just a rapid fire offense, very difficult for defenses to get in front of.
Yeah, it doesn't change much. People always talk about Michael Penix's running ability. I think Peyton is not a way better runner, but a better runner. And that adds that aspect to the offense to where now we're getting even less negative plays because he can create. A lot of times last week I was thinking, oh boy, this is another sack. And he finds a way to get out and get 15 yards where there was nothing. So I think Peyton just adds another dynamic to an offense that already has a lot of dynamics. There's not much fall off, in my opinion, to Peyton. I think Penix is obviously the starter. He's the guy when he's healthy. But there's not a huge drop off. And having that experience as a backup, that's invaluable.
Absolutely, and Indiana is averaging now of over 300 yards a game with basically a two-quarterback system, which is pretty amazing. A lot of times when you have a situation where you've got two different quarterbacks and they're going back and forth, not because of strategy but because of injury, but even with that, there's a differences. I don't think that a team has to really plan very much differently for either quarterback in this scenario right now.
I don't disagree. I think that IU's kind of MO is completion. Let's get completions. Let's get positive plays. Both quarterbacks are ranked in the top of the country in completion percentage and quarterback efficiency. That's what IU is trying to do. They're trying to make sure that we get positive plays, even if it's not a huge one every time. Let's hit singles. Singles will win the World Series if you hit enough of it. So let's keep hitting singles, make completions, positive plays, and they've had a ton of success doing that.
Yeah, I look at, last year we talked about the rousing success that Peyton Ramsey was having passing. Then this year you get Michael Penix. He's throwing for 69% right now. And Peyton Ramsey, 73%. That's two different quarterbacks averaging over 70% for the season on a team that throws the ball a lot. That's crazy. They both are averaging a quarterback rating in the 150s. That's just nuts.
Insane. I think those are some of the coolest stats that IU has had since I've been paying attention to the team, which is a long time. It's an incredible stat. Speaks to how well the wide receivers and quarterback work with each other and understand each other and communicate, it's a really cool stat.
And how is it as a receiver, man? It's gotta be fun knowing you're going to go out today and play for either one of those two quarterbacks because you know that ball is coming to you at some point.
Yeah, it's pitch and catch. That's as simple as I can make it. It's pitch and catch. A lot of times when either quarterback is in, it's a great feeling. It gives you a ton of confidence. It makes you run a little bit faster, get out of cuts faster. Everything is good when the quarterback is on the money and there's trust.
Mitchell, you played in an era under Coach Wilson, and the program was trending upwards at the time, but it hadn't got to. It hadn't gotten to where they are right now. Maybe, possibly, but what is it going to be like for this team if this year it ends up like we think that it's going to? Like it ends up that we think they're going to end up not only in a bowl but in a pretty good bowl. What does that mean to this program?
It changes the standards, which is the foundation of a whole program. What's acceptable, what got us to 8 wins, let's maintain that. Now, where we used to act like 6 wins, we changed a little something, and it didn't get us to 6 wins, it got us to 8 wins. Don't tweak anything else except to make it better. We're only going to be better than the standard. It raises the standard for everyone on the team, from the lowest walk-on to Walt Fillier, Michael Penix, best players on the team. It changes the standard for the team. It changes what's acceptable to the coaches, and it's only going to make you better.
Yeah, and talk about they had the coaches' salaries published again yesterday, and once again, Coach Tom Allen, the lowest paid in the Big Ten. Not only is he the lowest paid in the Big Ten, he's paid less than Chris Ash from Rutgers, who's fired. Doesn't he have a job? And he's still making more money than Tom Allen. That's certainly going to change after this season, I think. I would be shocked if Indiana does not rework a deal for him after this because, to me, it's not that he deserves more yet because up until now they haven't done anything. But once that happens, it becomes almost embarrassing for Indiana, I think, to have your football coach being the lowest paid in the conference and the 71st lowest paid in the country when you're having success.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't show a ton of investment in the football program, especially someone that they brought in, and we can get into that a little later, but brought in and we're looking at as someone they really wanted to be there for a long time. To hear that is a little surprising. To keep the momentum going, there has to be investment from the players and the coaches first and foremost, and I think they've shown that they're doing that. They're improving. Now the university has to show an investment in the program as well.
I agree, brother. I think the next time we're going to be talking about a bowl-eligible team without doubt.
I agree. I think if we talk Saturday night, we're going to have a bowl-eligible team. That's what I think.
I think you may be right. We'll certainly find out. Mitchell Page, my man, I cannot thank you enough, brother. We appreciate you. We love having you on as often as possible. Look forward to doing it again, especially as the season starts to wind down.
Yeah, definitely. And nothing else, I'll see you at Northwestern or in Bloomington for the Northwestern game.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly, a little alarm going off there. Absolutely. Mitchell Page, buddy, thank you so much, brother. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Hey, that's going to wrap up this segment. We got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Matt Weaver from Peegs.com is going to join us next. We'll be back with all that and more right here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Said your man is bringing you down.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Thursday, October 24th. It's game week as Indiana will take on Nebraska on Saturday. Without doubt, the biggest game it's the biggest game under Coach Allen's career at this point. He's had other big games, Michigan, whatnot. Wins didn't happen. This is an opportunity to get a major win over a major opponent in a major location at a major time. Bowl eligibility on the line as well. So all kinds of things adding up to make this such a humongous opportunity for Indiana and Tom Allen. We had the opportunity to talk to Tom the other day. Let's hear what he had to say.
Good afternoon. Just had a good morning with our team and really proud of the way they performed on Saturday. Thought it was just a great way to finish, to find a way to win an important road game in conference play. Anytime you go on the road, it's just, difficult. So we didn't play our best, but I thought we did a lot of good things, a lot of things to build off of for sure. But just the ability to finish, to have our defense on the field, as I said earlier, to be able to be the reason why the game closed the way it did, kind of be put back out there twice, but then challenge our offense about finishing. We get that first fumble that Jawan Burgess creates and get the ball in great position, and you want to go in there and score a touchdown. And still defense had to come out and still had to finish. But bottom line is it was a complete team effort. Our guys had some guys dinged up, and O-line was shuffled around a little bit, but still was able to rush for almost 200 yards, and Stevie went over 100, 6 yards of carry for him, and thought he ran really, really hard, protected the football, did a lot of great things. Played two different quarterbacks, obviously, and both of them played well. And Peyton being able to throw for almost 200 yards and being 20 for 27 and just being really sharp and being prepared to do what he did was very encouraging. And just even in the special teams, they had a really, really good return game that I was very concerned about. And being able to contain Leak, I thought was critical. And then they had 0 punt return yards. So just a lot of positives. 0 penalties on special teams, which has been a big focus. So those are things that we have told our team that's how you have to function to win on the road and to be able to play a clean game in those areas. And just thought our coaching staff made some good adjustments at halftime defensively. Our defense gave up 2 big plays throughout the game that were costly, but in the second half really shut them down and made some good adjustments at halftime. So appreciate the work that our defensive staff, Coach Womack's leadership there, and then Coach DeBoer offensively come up with a good plan, got off to a fast start, 2 touchdowns, first 2 drives, and just being able to keep the pressure on. The touchdown before half was huge. Great momentum, awesome play by Nick Westbrook. He had 6 catches and played really, really well. So proud of our guys, but really challenged them and went through the film and to focus on the areas that we have to really hone in on to continue to grow as a football team. But anytime you can go on the road and get that kind of win the way that it happened, it helps your team grow and develop the belief and confidence into what we're doing. And just the weight room, the strength that they feel, the workout again today, just continue the momentum that we're building in there, and being able to do a good job of finding a way to win a game on the road, which is critical. So really proud of our guys, but have to continue to stay focused on the details. That's where we have to really, I think, fine-tune everything that we're doing and just keep getting better. And then because of all that, players of the game, Stevie Scott and Peyton Ramsey were both highly achieving guys, but Peyton Ramsey's the one that we chose to go with for the offensive player of the game, just because of the ability for him to execute at a high level, coming off the bench like he did. And defensively, a couple guys that stuck out to me and our staff, Juwan Burgess and Reese Taylor, defensive players of the game. 2 critical takeaways, but it was bigger than that. It was the way they played the entire game, their mindset throughout practice all week long, the way they prepared. Just everything is continuing to be on an incline for both of those guys in the secondary. Logan Justice is our special teams player of the game. 2 key field goals that were the difference in the game. Points-wise, continues to be very steady for us and do a great job. Throughout the week, defensive scout of the week, Christian Love, and offensive scout of the week, Deshaun Brown and Tim Weaver, and then special teams scout of the week, Joseph Daniels. So felt like that we had a very good week of preparation. Still did not feel like that we executed at the level we need to consistently throughout the game, but at the same time, as we mentioned, the guys were able to bow up, find a way to win, and then have a great celebrated locker room, which is always a great thing to experience. So proud of our guys. Questions?
The offensive line in particular, I think we asked you about it Saturday, but as you're able to kind of go back and look at how Matt Bedford's grown, at how Simon Stepaniak handles moving over to the left side for, I think, maybe the first time in his career, at least as a starter. Harry obviously going to center, and McKenzie coming in almost from the cold. Just how impressed were you with the way that those guys played?
Very, and I attribute to them and to Coach Hiller and the job that he does. And I thought those 3 guys you mentioned, we obviously had 3 different positions there affected by having Harry move to center and then moving Simon to left guard and then McKenzie playing right. So just thought Matthew continues to progress. Boy, he really, all those big runs that Stevie was having there in the second half and was him just caving in the defensive line and just creating a lot of movement. And our tight ends blocked well on several of those as also. But Harry did a great job snapping the football. That's a dynamic that you forget about until you get a bad snap. And so he did a great job with the snaps. And then he's a good center. He really is. He's got a good base to him. He's strong. He's smart. And so hadn't had a lot of reps there, but I will say this: we probably got into, we were 2 full weeks into the camp, and I just said, okay, guys, it's time for us to shuffle the O-line, and let's get Harry at center, and let's get guys shuffled around a little bit, play some different spots, and we played Coy at guard. I mean, just tried to get guys different. We did it for several practices in a row, and I think that really paid off for us. Yes, this past game, just because looking forward, that you just never know what may happen to the offensive line, and having guys that can play multiple spots helps them for their future, because that's what the NFL is looking for, guys that have that versatility to play multiple positions because of the number of linemen they have on their roster and how many they carry to a game each week. So that's a big selling point for our guys is in their development and what they want for their future. So, but Coach Hill did a great job of that. So I just really proud of our line. They got to keep getting better. But I feel like that, expect to get Hunter back this week. He warmed up and we went through it and had the discussion about it. Possibly he probably could have gone, but hadn't got a lot of reps. And so we felt, if we could just hold him for one more week and be able to still get what we want, then I think it served itself well there, because now should be fully recovered here by the time we get to Saturday. He'll be practicing with us this week and got off to a good start today. So should get him back and get those guys back to their normal spots.
Coach, in regards to Reese Taylor and the play that he made at the end of the game there, you've said in the past that he's been taking the defensive back position in stride, but when he was such a successful quarterback at Ben Davis and then he came over and just to make a play like that in a game like that, what does that say about his development? And did you say anything specifically to him regarding that situation?
Well, man, after I gave him a huge hug, man, I just so proud of him. He's such a great person, works so hard, and I know he's been frustrated because of the injuries and hasn't been out there like he wanted to be because of that. And but now he's gotten back and showed up on special teams last week and now on defense. But that's the ball savviness that he has, and just being a former offensive player, specifically a quarterback, and being able to finish the play. It's a little probably tougher catch than it looks, but it was overthrown. But it was overthrown because of the rover doing his job and taking away that seam route by the vertical number 2, and he's an overlap player in that coverage, and that's what he did exactly what he was supposed to do. So you get rewarded for being in the right place at the right time. But he's an excellent football player and one of our best athletes without question. So I just see him continuing to grow in his performance and execution and just being comfortable out there at corner. But he's one of our elite players in my mind in terms of quickness and change of direction, and he's got a toughness to him. He'll tackle, even though he's not the biggest guy, but just a really good football player. So awesome for him. So proud of him and happy for him to have that opportunity, and he came through for his team. It was awesome.
Coach, I know last week you mentioned that early into the season you checked on Stevie when things weren't going all good, and he told you he was fine. But talk a little bit, just big picture with this offense as a whole, when you get as much out of him as you've been getting now these last 3-4 weeks.
Well, first of all, with Stevie's situation, and I did check on him, but he was almost kind of like, Coach, man, I'm good. Don't worry about me. But he's still, he's only a sophomore, and he had such a big freshman year that I just wanted to make sure he was keeping everything in check, and having the right mindset, and don't want to assume things, and sometimes guys may look that way on the outside, but you want to give him an opportunity to sit down with you face to face and talk it through. So, but he's been awesome. He understands, and it's been neat to see him rewarded for that patience, and he's catching the ball out of the backfield. He's running the football. He's, and Kalen does a tremendous job. I look at all the different guys that are catching balls, and Wap only had 2 catches in this game, but he's had a whole bunch in the last couple, but other guys stepped up and had big games as well. And they several times had him bracketed, but you can't, you do that to one guy, it's going to create opportunities for a guy like Nick, and he took advantage of it. And Peyton Hendershot had a bunch of catches again. I think he had 6. So, being a bunch of individuals that care more about the team is what we have on offense. And we talked about that this morning as well, and just guys, the way our offense can distribute the football, and O-line is really kind of coming into their own, and just need to see them respond, as I already mentioned, with having some new guys in there and playing some different positions and playing 2 different quarterbacks, and both of them playing extremely high level and very efficient and effective. And so to me, that's tribute to Coach DeBoer and his system, and which has become our system, but I did let him come in and implement what he knew and believed in, and it's become ours, and all the coaches on that side of the ball, it's now what we do. And so, but I think it's a great fit for our guys, and they've really, are starting to get into a rhythm and a groove of understanding the reads, and just sitting through all the meetings again this morning with offense and watching the film together with the players and the staff and the coaches there. They're just neat to see that confidence growing, and understanding where, the ball needs to go each time and everything up front. So it's really, at the right time, coming together, and they need to play at a high level this point in the season, and they are. And so to be able to continue to do that is going to be critical for our future success. So just really proud of that side of the ball, but we do got to finish. We needed to finish that game off. We needed to put that team away there in the second half and not make it come down to the final series. But it did, and we responded.
There's Coach Tom Allen, Indiana head football coach, as Indiana's preparing to go out to Nebraska. We'll have more from him tomorrow, as we'll be speaking with him later on today. Also tomorrow, the Todd father, Todd Leary, is back with us, as he is each and every Friday. Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated with Indiana will be with us as well. We'll have plenty to talk about. I'm sure we'll dig up some more stuff, as well as Indiana heads on to take on Nebraska on Saturday. You got men's soccer in action on Friday. The women's volleyball team is in action on Friday, taking on Nebraska, number 5 team in the country. We'll hear from Coach Steve Aird tomorrow as well. So make sure you tune back in for all that. Thanks a lot to everybody on the show today. Tommy Coverdale, can't thank him enough. Always great to have him on. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition. Taylor Lehman from thehoosier.com, Indiana Rivals. And Sean Callahan from Husker Online, Nebraska Rivals, joined us as well. Great day. We appreciate everybody. For Jake, I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.
Take your medicine.